Good.
First, I want to ask you about the Hall of Fame class. There's 3 Vancouver guys going in. You saw a lot of them in a past decade. Just your reaction to those guys going in the class in general.
Well, obviously great players. It's great for British Columbia. It's a province that's kind of stuck out in the west there that more and more hockey players are coming from, and so good for them. I think it's fantastic for the Hall of Fame, and obviously great careers for those guys.
The decision to hire Jim Montgomery, in your eyes, what makes him the right coach for this roster as it's constructed right now?
Well, I think that his past success is certainly something that intrigued us. His communication, not only with the players but also, I think with management, I think is something that's important, especially today. I mean, communication's key. It's obviously someone has the last decision when he's on the bench. It's his roster, it's his decision. But collaborative efforts, I think, are always something that's important. Get everybody talking hockey, talking about your team. I think more comes from it than not talking about it. So I think that's something that's I noticed with Jim. I think he likes to talk hockey. He likes to talk about his hockey club.
Obviously, he's been upfront, open about his struggles and kind of what led him here. How is that viewed, in the organization? Is it something you talk about? Is it something that he wants to be, out in front of, that kind of thing moving forward?
Well, obviously, it's his story to tell. And I'm sure he will tell it. He was very forthright with us with what happened, and I appreciate that. I know Don appreciated it. It's something that we took very seriously, considering him as a candidate. What bringing him on board, what it would mean. But we certainly did a ton of due diligence, talked to a lot of people. We had other people talk to him, see where he's at, and we felt very comfortable where he's at right now in his life. I like the fact that everybody deserves a second chance, and I think he's worked towards that second chance, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do for us here.
The offensive coach, what excites you about the way he can attack?
Well, just throughout the process, he showed us some video on a few things that he'd like to change, both in the D zone and the offensive zone. I'll let him go into that if he wants, but I thought there were a couple interesting tweaks to the way we played the game. Hopefully we'll create a little bit more offense and get us out of our zone a little quicker.
Cam, obviously you're not going to have a full defense when you start the season, but when everybody's back and healthy, what's the general philosophy of how you'd like that defense to work in terms of translating into offense?
Well, obviously, getting out of your zone quicker is something that's important. At times I think we felt we spent a little bit too much time in our zone, even though we weren't maybe giving up grade A scoring chances. It's just more time in the D zone. And then on the offensive blue line, I'd like to see our D be a little bit more active across the blue line. I felt at times we were a little too stationary, and maybe that created less opportunities, not just for the D to create some offense, but also for the forwards as well. So I think those are areas that I think Jim would like to try to implement where we can get out of our zone a little bit quicker and maybe create a little bit more offense from the blue line.
When healthy, do you believe you have the people to do that on the blue line?
Well, it remains to be seen. I think there's certainly room for improvement for both Grzelcyk, Riley, Carlo for sure. How much improvement, we'll see, but I think there is room for improvement there, no question.
What's it been like for you to be back here in person? We were just talking to Donnie about it, just everybody in one place again for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah, you feel like you've lost a couple of years of your life, right? Just from a social standpoint.
Yeah.
So, seeing people you haven't seen in a long time, whether it's a number of scouts that you usually bump into, especially at the draft, across the league, the guys maybe you played with or played against that are across North America or even Europe that you get to see and say hi to. That's the one difference. Although I personally, I think we could do this more cost effectively. But that's something for another day.
The fact that it's in Montreal too, such a hockey city,
Right.
and now they've got the #1 pick, just all the hype around that. What's it been like for you just being here in the middle of that excitement?
Well, anytime you get into Canada, surrounding some kind of a major event like this is huge. And obviously Montreal with the first overall pick, the buzz, you can feel it in the air. It's exciting for them, it's exciting for the city, for us. Probably not as much, but good for Montreal, and I know they're going to put on a great show for everyone.
Forgot to ask Donnie this, but I'll ask you. Any updates on David Parsnick and where that's headed?
I believe Don's meeting with his agent in Montreal here, so we'll see where that goes. But I feel very positive about it.
Do you walk in here, without clarity on Bergeron, but do you walk in here maybe feeling a little bit more encouraged that he might come back?
I do. He went through the elbow procedure for a reason, I think. Not just to maybe feel better in the off season, but I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident that he's leaning in the direction we want him to lean into. I mean, as I told him a while ago, I said, once it's over, it's over. Believe me, you want to play again at some point. But I also said that not many athletes get to choose when they hang them up. So there's something to be said for that. But if he didn't have the year he had last year, I might feel a little differently. But the year he had, I don't see any reason why you want to pack it in.
What's your reaction to seeing Mike Greer get hired as San Jose's GM?
I think it's fantastic. I know him a little bit. Good guy. He's worked hard. He deserves a shot, obviously, and I wish him all the success. It's great for him. It's great for the league, and hopefully it ends up being great for San Jose.
Kim, obviously the team took kind of a negative backlash after the Bruce firing, and I'm just wondering what you can say to the fan base right now to kind of ease their fears and what they can expect from Jim Montgomery.
Well, it wasn't surprising. Bruce is well liked. And he, as I said at the end of the end of the season press conference that I did, I said he's a fantastic coach. And rightfully or wrongfully, we have a little bit more information than media and the fans do. It's things that happen inside the locker room, and there's not one specific thing. I think Bruce did a really good job for us. Got to the finals. Like I said, he's well liked, and he's a good coach. Still is a good coach. I just think we're going to see a little bit different approach. Maybe change things up a little bit that hopefully excites our fan base. I think I'm excited about it. Again, change is difficult for some people sometimes, and we'll have to go through it. But obviously, at the end of the day, wins and losses matter, right? So if we're winning hockey games, I think fans will be happy.
You in that same press conference, you kind of hinted that over the last few years, it's kind of been in the back of your head about a rebuild or a retool, whatever you want to call it. But since then, I mean, with Bergie potentially coming back, maybe even Krejci, it doesn't seem like you guys are quite there yet. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, well, if you look at some of our players, it's hard to say we're going to just tear this down right now. With the Pasternaks, and we just signed Lindholm to 8 years. We got Charlie locked up for another 8 years or 7 years, whatever it is. Carlo, Allmark, Swayman. I mean, we've got guys that we feel we can build around right now, and still hopefully keep this train rolling to give us a chance to compete to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, that's the ultimate goal here. But when you go through what we did from 2011 all the way to 22, when you're in that window, so to speak, and you're firing off assets and picks, you're going to pay for it at some point, and that's coming. But hopefully we can find a way to build around those other guys. We've got Marchand for another 3 years, I believe. So we still feel we have a competitive team. We just got to find the right pieces to help supplement the roster.
When you get to know some of the younger kids, because that can be kind of a twist your head around kind of thing. I have to go make an impact right now. Do you see kind of the right kinds of attitude and skill, those combinations?
Well, what I see is opportunity for some of these young kids based on some guys being out of the lineup, and there's going to be players that get more minutes, whether it's on the power play, more minutes 5-on-5, different opportunities than if we had a healthy roster they wouldn't have. So I look at that. I hope that they look at those opportunities and say, I'm going to come there and I'm going to prove that I can play more, whether it's playing the NHL or play more minutes for the Bruins. So that's how I look at it.
Does that mean, you're leaning more towards them kind of compensating while these guys are out, or are you interested in the free agent market, trades to kind of help that?
Well, we look at every possible scenario to help us, improve our club. So it's all of the above right now. We hope some guys internally step up, and then we'll see what we can do, whether it's trades or free agency.
I don't think there were reports about dissension in the locker room, but there was kind of a lot of casual talk that, you know, people hated Bruce, certain players, things like that. How would you characterize that? And I know it's kind of a, you know, general thing I'm throwing at you, but prominent kind of outlets have talked about that.
Well, obviously, you know, when you let go a coach like Bruce, people are going to try to dig in and see what, you know, what really, you know, went on. I like to keep things, you know, in the locker room. Obviously, if others want to talk, that's their prerogative. But for me, it's not really to say. You know, I think, you know, unfortunately, right or wrong, when you have a coach for 5, 6, 7 years, and you know, players have kind of remained the same on a club, especially nowadays. You know, you don't see the player interact or interchange between other clubs as much as you used to. So I think, you know, at some point, unfortunately, the voice does get old, and you know, this may have happened that way. Delivery also is something that I think you have to be careful. As I've said to people, I don't talk to my kids the way my dad talked to me. That dog doesn't hunt. So, you know, it's just the way of the world right now. But, you know, you know, I think our guys, you know, certainly, I didn't see any quit in them. So that was the one important thing for me was, you know, they came to play every night. There was no quit. So, you know, I think they played for themselves. At some point, I think that was kind of the message that we're a team here.
Last question. You remember like how you felt when you were drafted?
Yeah, I never got in. I never got asked. It was in Montreal at the time. No one ever asked me if I wanted to go to the draft. I didn't even know what was going on, to be honest with you. I was just happy playing hockey, and so I interviewed with Buffalo, I interviewed with Winnipeg, and I interviewed with Vancouver. And Buffalo picked 5 and 10, I believe. Winnipeg picked 9 or 8. Pardon me, 8. Vancouver picked 9. So I'm sitting around the radio with my family, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to. Hopefully Vancouver, because you know, I wasn't sure about Buffalo and I wasn't sure about Winnipeg, but I knew about Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, and it getting called to by the Canucks, so that was a great feeling for me and my family. You know, living outside of Vancouver was pretty cool.
Different world then, huh?
Way different.
I got a question, Cam. Do you have to, whoever you pick first, your first pick, do you have to, when the kid goes up on the stage, go just because they're booing you, it's nothing personal?
Yeah, for sure. We will have to let him know that it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, make it more boozy. Gary
Between you and the Leafs, you're going to get booed.
Yeah, which we should, and rightfully so. It's such a great rivalry. I think both teams and cities respect each other, but it's such a great rivalry. We should get booed. I expect it loud. I just, you know, I expect it really loud.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, guys.